this team got it done. Scott Cranack and Jimmy Barish did most of the work to get these things straightened out. We revised the grant by reducing the total project scope for the first phase from $359,000 down to $240,000. And requested from the state to match, it was reduced from $176,000 down to $83,500. We cut it approximately 50%, 53%. And by that time, we had increased the cash that we had on hand through fundraising and other donations by 300%, and had approximately $30,500 on hand. That $30,000 was, go ahead, you're all right. $10,000, that was a DCED grant that Bob Robbins obtained for us. That and the private donations got us up to $30,000, which made it look a whole lot better. So we waited for another 6-7 months, and in December of '07, we received an official notice from the DCNR that we received the application and were selected for funding for $83,500. We were ecstatic. We couldn't believe it, and now this means this project can move forward. The next open submission period is until the fall of this year, and we're going to continue to pursue additional funding. I've already been informed by Bob Robbins' office that DCED money has pretty much been allotted for the year 2008, but we're just going to continue pursuing. I've been the lone person working on the grant portion of this project, and I'd love to have some help and some ideas and direction to go after some more private money. And if any of you guys have any ideas, I'd love for you to call me and approach me about them so we can make these happen. So I'm happy to announce that it is official that we did receive a grant for this project. And you guys are going to see something happen up there in the spring of '08. Thanks.
Thanks, Dave. Any questions on the grants? That's a lot to digest. Going through all the numbers and some of the steps that we had to go through. Just one of the points that we were trying to make was a lot of times people don't realize the cost involved with the project. And ourselves included, we had no idea when we had the initial site plan given to us. It was developed by a landscape architect, and they said this project's going to cost $1.6 million. How that could possibly be. Without going through it in the complete detail, I can't explain it to you, but I can guarantee you that those costs are accurate. Now, one thing to keep in mind when we talk about project costs, first phase cost of $360,000, that's obviously the budgeted cost, and that's what it would be if we were to go out and simply purchase everything that we need and all the services that we need. So when we talk about $235,000 of value of in-kind service, that's the value of all of the donations that people have made of their services and or equipment and or materials, and it'll go into and against that, maybe not so much dollar for dollar, but it certainly goes into it. We don't have, or do we have to really spend $360,000. The other point we wanted to make, although it's great news that we were able to get the DCNR to fund us finally, to keep in mind that when we asked for $186,000 from the state, we weren't just asking for more money because we wanted it. That's what we thought it was going to take to fund the cash end of the project. So we do have that grant in-house and approved, and we're going to have that money supplied to the project. But we still have additional needs, and as Dave mentioned, we want to pursue other grants. Some of the bad news we got later on in the year, as Dave also mentioned, was DCD funding from the state have been cut down. Those original numbers that Dave showed you on the DCNR and how much was allocated to them to distribute to the state later got reduced by the governor. If you guys remember the whole budget, and then the government shut down, and basically when they needed some more money from somewhere, they took it to DCNR. So ultimately what it means is the future into going into phase 2 and phase 3, which we'll tell you here in a little bit what each of those phases are, is still dependent on raising the additional future in-kind services and donations. And although we will go after grants, it's not like we'll be able to roll into it next year, get another $83,000. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. So although while great news, just want everybody to know that there's certainly still some additional needs out there. Any questions on the grant portion thus far? The one thing that I don't know if we mentioned or not too was in the Stoneboro Skate Park, we also have a grant for that project. It's valued at about $30,000. We didn't personally obtain that grant. That was originally done through the Borough of Stoneboro and some other local citizens who helped to get that grant in. What we did was we actually kind of rescued it. The borough, the grant was due to expire, and the funds would have went back to the state if they didn't act. And they didn't have the resources, the capacity, and had some other things going on. It wasn't a priority on the current council at that time's plate. So they asked us to help. We stepped in and approached DCNR and asked if we could manage the grant, which they approved. So that's also within the grant budget. And just in case anybody wonders, they are kept completely separate. We can't take money from one and apply it to the other. And as such, we also do with fundraising. So if we ever hold a fundraiser and then we say that fundraiser is to benefit the Jack Jones complex, that's where those funds go, and they wouldn't be distributed between projects. So it would be specific types of fundraising.